The latest zero-day vulnerability is called the Log4J vulnerability. But what's a zero-day vulnerability? And how will the Log4J vulnerability affect your business? We'll find out in today's video. But before we start, my name is Jonathan Edwards and I'm a business IT consultant from Yorkshire in the UK. We help businesses with their IT support and the cybersecurity. So like this video and subscribe to my channel so you can get all my updates every time. It seems like every week there's a new cybersecurity meltdown, a new threat that can impact our businesses. One of the biggest cybersecurity threats to our businesses are known as zero-day vulnerabilities, and the latest one is called the Log4J vulnerability. Now this vulnerability affects lots of different pieces of software, and if you've been online in the last few weeks, you've probably seen some information about it. But before we start talking about the Log4J vulnerability, let's talk about zero-day vulnerabilities, what they are and what they mean for your business. Now, if you're a regular watcher of my channel, you'll know all about software patching. And if you're not a regular watcher, then let me fill you in. Everything we do when it comes to technology involves software. So we've got Windows 10, Windows 11 on our computers. We use Microsoft Office, we use Adobe Reader. Even the hardware we use has software on it. So I've got an iPhone and that runs iOS software to power the hardware. The wireless access points in our business has software to run them, even the printers. So when it comes to technology, software is absolutely everywhere. Now the problem is, no software is perfect. Sometimes bugs are discovered within software. But what we need to be concerned about when it comes to the security of our business is when security flaws are discovered within the software. Security flaws are what cyber criminals absolutely love. So what happens when a bug or a security flaw is discovered in software? Well, the developers of that software, so it might be Microsoft for Windows 10 and Windows 11 or Google for Google Chrome, those software developers will create something called a patch, and that patch is like a fix for the bug or the security problem. And when they release that patch, your IT people have to install that patch on the devices, your computers, as soon as possible. So I hope you're following so far. So with all that information about software patching, what is a zero-day vulnerability? Well, a zero-day vulnerability is when a cyber criminal discovers a security flaw in some software, but the software developers don't yet know about it. As an analogy, it's a little bit like when the COVID pandemic first hit and we didn't have a vaccination. The race was on to develop a vaccination before the virus could infect so many people. The same thing happens with a zero-day vulnerability. The software developers become aware that there's a problem in their software, but the cyber criminals are already starting to take advantage. Now the race is on for the software developers to develop a patch that fixes that vulnerability before the cyber criminals can do too much damage. For cyber criminals, zero-day vulnerabilities are really valuable. If they discover one, they can sell it on the open market for about $1 million. Now when it comes to zero-day vulnerabilities, 2021 has been a little bit of a record year. There's been over 66 zero-day vulnerabilities with different software discovered. To put that in perspective, that is almost double the number that was discovered in 2020. So these threats are on the increase. It was only in June of this year that LinkedIn suffered a zero-day attack, which affected 700 million user accounts. That is over 90% of all the users that use LinkedIn. Did you hear about that attack? Well, it happened, and what that's going to mean is there's going to be a huge surge in sophisticated phishing attacks in the months to come, because the cyber criminals have a lot of information about our LinkedIn accounts. So what is this latest zero-day vulnerability, and as a business owner, should you be concerned? Well, the latest one is called the Log4J vulnerability. Log4J is some open source login library software that's used by lots of different applications across the internet. When I talk about open source, it means it's freely available for anyone to use. If I'm a software developer, instead of me writing lots of code for different software applications, I can get code that's already been written and add it as building blocks for my software. It saves lots of time. So because the Log4J is open source software, it's used in lots of different software applications. So what has happened is a vulnerability has been discovered within the Log4J software. If that vulnerability isn't patched, it could lead to cyber criminals hacking into the systems, stealing usernames, passwords, or installing malicious software. So as a business owner, what should you be doing now? Well, because the Log4J is open source software, it's used by so many different applications that we use. So it's down to your IT team to identify those applications and double down on its patching. Make sure all the latest patches are installed on everything within your business, and then you should be okay. And as always, if you've got any questions or concerns, just drop a note in the messages and I'll be happy to help. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing you again soon.